like you. Be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Na Diorpop. There are moments that don't need loud music, dramatic edits, or exaggerated captions. Moments that don't ask to be explained, only to be felt. Today's story lives exactly there, in the quiet details most people overlook, in the softness that slips through when no one is trying to perform. Because sometimes, the most heartbreaking kind of love isn't the kind that shouts. It's the kind that stays. The kind that notices. The kind that chooses someone gently, again and again, without ever asking for recognition. And when it comes to Jungkook and Jimin, that softness has always been there. Steady, instinctive, impossible to ignore once you see it. Today, we're talking about Jungkook's soft spot for Jimin. The kind that shows up in silent glances, protective reflexes, and a tenderness so sincere it makes your chest ache. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. So take a deep breath. Slow down for a moment. And let's talk about the kind of care that doesn't need words to be understood. Welcome back to Na Diorpop. It's not something he announces out loud. It's not written in bold letters or dramatic gestures meant to be seen. It lives in the quiet spaces, the pauses, the glances that linger a second too long, the reflexes he doesn't even realize he has. Jungkook is known for many things. Strength, talent, discipline, control. He is the golden one, the youngest who learned early how to stand tall in a world that demands perfection. He knows how to endure, how to push forward, how to carry weight without letting it show. But all of that changes when it comes to Jimin. With Jimin, Jungkook softens in ways that feel almost involuntary. As if his body recognizes something before his mind does. As if his heart knows where it belongs, even when he tries to act casual about it. You see it in the way his shoulders relax when Jimin is nearby. In the way his voice lowers, not out of shyness, but out of gentleness. In the way his eyes follow Jimin through crowded rooms, not watching, but guarding. Jungkook doesn't hover. He doesn't need to. He just stays close enough to reach Jimin if needed, close enough that his presence becomes a quiet safety net. And Jimin feels it. There's a particular way Jimin smiles around Jungkook. Not the polished idol smile, not the playful fanservice grin. But the soft, unguarded one. The kind that shows up when someone knows, without doubt, that they are safe. Jungkook treats Jimin like something precious, but never fragile. He never underestimates him. He never speaks over him. He never rushes him. Instead, he waits. He waits when Jimin needs time. He listens when Jimin speaks, even when his voice drops low or his words come out tangled. He notices things others miss. When Jimin is tired, when he's pushing himself too hard, when his laughter sounds just a little forced. And Jungkook reacts without making it obvious. A hand that appears at Jimin's back when the crowd presses in. A jacket draped over his shoulders without a word. A glance that asks, "Are you okay?" And waits patiently for the answer. There is something heartbreaking about the way Jungkook cares. Because it isn't loud. It isn't possessive. It isn't demanding. It's careful. He holds Jimin's emotions like something sacred. As if he understands how deeply Jimin feels everything: joy, insecurity, love, fear, and chooses, every single time, to be gentle with that depth instead of exploiting it. Sometimes Jungkook looks at Jimin like he's memorizing him. The curve of his smile. The way his eyes crinkle when he laughs. The softness of his voice when he's relaxed. As if he's afraid that if he doesn't pay attention, he might miss something important. And maybe that's the most telling part of all. Jungkook doesn't take Jimin for granted. No matter how many years pass. No matter how familiar their routines become. No matter how often they stand side by side on stage. There is still wonder there. Still tenderness. Still a quiet reverence that says, "You matter to me. You always have." When Jimin doubts himself, Jungkook becomes steady. When Jimin shines, Jungkook beams like it's his own achievement. When Jimin stumbles, Jungkook is already there, ready to catch him without making a scene. And Jungkook never asks for recognition for this. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need validation. Loving Jimin, softly, consistently, unwaveringly, seems to be something he does as naturally as breathing. There are moments when Jungkook forgets the world is watching. Moments when his guard drops completely. Like when he laughs a little too freely at Jimin's jokes. When he leans in instinctively. When his hand finds Jimin's without hesitation, fingers fitting together like they've done it 1,000 times before. In those moments, Jungkook isn't the golden magne. He isn't the global superstar. He's just someone who loves deeply and doesn't know how not to show it. And that's why it hurts. Because softness like that is rare. Because devotion like that is quiet and easily overlooked. Because Jungkook's care for Jimin isn't about grand declarations. It's about staying, noticing, choosing him again and again in the smallest ways. Jungkook has such a soft spot for Jimin that it feels almost too intimate to witness. Like stumbling upon a handwritten letter never meant to be read aloud. Like watching someone love with their whole heart, unguarded and sincere. It makes you ache. It makes you emotional. It makes you realize that some bonds don't need labels or explanations. They just exist. Steady, gentle, enduring. And somewhere in the middle of all the noise, all the lights, all the expectations placed on them, Jungkook continues to look at Jimin like he is home. And that's what makes me cry every single time. Because the truth is, Jungkook's softness toward Jimin doesn't fade with time. If anything, it deepens. As the years pass, as schedules grow heavier and expectations pile higher, Jungkook doesn't grow distant from Jimin. He grows more attentive, more intentional. As if he's learned that loving someone like Jimin means being present in ways that don't always get noticed, but always get felt. There's something almost instinctive about it. Jungkook reads Jimin the way you read a familiar song. He knows when the tempo changes. He notices when something is off, even when Jimin insists he's fine. And instead of confronting him loudly, Jungkook adjusts himself, slows down, softens his tone, stays closer. He never treats Jimin like a problem to be solved. He treats him like a feeling to be understood. When Jimin talks about his insecurities, Jungkook listens without interrupting. He doesn't rush to fix things. He doesn't dismiss the pain. He just stays. Sometimes that means sitting quietly beside him. Sometimes it means making him laugh without even trying. Sometimes it means reminding Jimin, gently, persistently, that he is loved exactly as he is. Jungkook's care is never conditional. He doesn't love Jimin only when he's bright and cheerful. He doesn't pull away when Jimin is tired, sensitive, or overwhelmed. If anything, that's when Jungkook becomes the softest. His voice lowers. His movements become careful. His attention sharpens, like the world has narrowed down to just one person. And what breaks my heart the most is how natural it all seems. Jungkook doesn't pause to think, should I do this? He doesn't hesitate or second-guess. He just reaches for Jimin. A subtle touch to get his attention. A shared glance that says more than words ever could. A smile meant only for him. It's the kind of affection that isn't meant to be performed. It's the kind that happens when someone forgets they're being watched. There are moments when Jungkook looks at Jimin with pure admiration. Not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet kind that sits deep in the chest. Like he's proud of him. Like he believes in him completely. Like he sees not just who Jimin is now, but everything he's survived to become this person. And Jimin feels that trust. You can see it in the way he leans into Jungkook without fear. In the way he lets himself be soft around him. In the way he allows himself to rest. Because being held, emotionally or physically, by someone like Jungkook means you don't have to pretend. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to smile when it hurts. You don't have to explain yourself. Jungkook understands without needing explanations. That's why their bond feels so heavy with meaning. Not because it's dramatic. Not because it's loud. But because it's consistent. Day after day. Year after year. Through exhaustion, success, doubt, and growth. Jungkook chooses Jimin in 1,000 tiny ways. And those choices add up to something overwhelming. Something that feels too sincere for a world that thrives on spectacle. Something that feels almost sacred. Jungkook has such a soft spot for Jimin that it feels like a promise. A silent one. The kind that says, no matter how hard it gets, you won't face it alone. And maybe that's why it makes me cry. Because in a world that teaches people to guard their hearts, Jungkook lets his stay open for Jimin. Because softness like that is brave. Because loving someone gently, without conditions, without expectations, without asking for anything in return, that's rare. And Jungkook does it like it's the easiest thing in the world.